There comes a moment in every woman's life when she looks in the mirror and no longer recognizes the reflection staring back at her. Not because she's lost, but because she's been playing a role for so long she's forgotten who she really is. They called her a good girl when she smiled through pain, when she said yes though she meant no, when she shrank herself to make others comfortable. But what if I told you, being a good girl isn't the same as being a whole woman? Today, I'm not here to tell you to be reckless. I'm here to tell you to be real, to stop performing and start becoming. This isn't about rebellion, it's about liberation. It's time to take off the mask. It's time to let go of the good girl act and finally step into the unapologetic power of who you truly are. We grow up believing that being a good girl is the highest honor we can earn. We're praised when we're obedient, when we sit still, when we don't raise our voices too loud. We're taught that our worth lies in how agreeable, how polite, how quiet we can be. And slowly, without even realizing it, we begin to trade our authenticity for acceptance. We start living in a role instead of living in our truth. But the good girl act is not a crown, it's a cage. It confines us to a version of ourselves that is incomplete and unreal. It tells us to hide our anger, dim our ambition, swallow our opinions, and deny our needs. And the most dangerous part, we start believing that this mask is who we really are. We wear it so long that the world forgets we ever had another face. Worse, we forget too. This act might bring temporary comfort. It might keep us out of conflict, keep us light, keep us safe, but only on the surface. Inside, it costs us everything. Our joy, our freedom, our voice. You see, the good girl isn't actually good. She's just afraid. Afraid of rejection, afraid of judgment, afraid that if she's fully herself, she won't be loved. But I want you to know, you don't have to earn love by disappearing. Letting go of the act is terrifying because it means standing in the world without a script. It means being misunderstood. It means being seen. But it also means being free. When you drop the performance, you start connecting with people not because you're agreeable, but because you're real. You begin to form relationships rooted in truth, not in how well you can pretend. This isn't about abandoning kindness or compassion. Those are strengths. It's about no longer tying your worth to how well you meet someone else's expectations. You weren't put on this earth to be small. You weren't born to be silent. You were meant to be seen, to be heard, and to be known. And the moment you realize that, the cage begins to fall apart. Perfection, that invisible standard we chase, thinking once we reach it will finally be enough. We think if we get it all right, our appearance, our achievements, our relationships, then we'll be loved, respected, safe. But perfection is not a destination. It's a performance. And like any performance, it requires constant rehearsing, endless effort, and a part of us dying quietly behind the curtain. The good girl is always chasing this illusion. She believes that if she just works harder, smiles brighter, never makes mistakes, and never asks for too much, she will be accepted. But perfection doesn't invite peace. It demands silence. It says, don't be too bold, don't show weakness, and above all, don't let anyone see the real you. So, we tuck our humanity behind polished smiles and rehearsed words, hoping to be seen while staying hidden. But what if the version of you that you keep trying to fix isn't broken? What if your flaws, your mess, your rawness are not shameful, but sacred? You are not here to impress the world. You are here to express yourself. And true expression isn't perfect. It's vulnerable. It stumbles. It dares. It breathes. Perfection, on the other hand, is hollow. It doesn't allow space for learning, for failing forward, for being beautifully human. Every time you try to be perfect, you're editing yourself into someone else's idea of worthy. And the more you edit, the more disconnected you become from your joy, your purpose, your soul. You start living for approval, not alignment. But let me tell you something with my whole heart. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. Your power comes from your presence, not your polish. The truth is, people don't connect with perfection. They connect with realness, with the cracks in your voice when you speak your truth, with the courage in your eyes when you choose yourself. That's what leaves a mark on the world, not how flawlessly you performed, but how honestly you showed up. There's a kind of pain that doesn't leave bruises, but lingers quietly in the heart. It's the ache of constantly saying yes when every part of you is screaming no. It's the habit of smiling through discomfort, of carrying other people's expectations like a burden on your back. That pain is called self-betrayal, and it often hides behind the mask of people-pleasing. We're taught that being liked is everything, that a good girl makes everyone around her comfortable, even if it means she's deeply uncomfortable inside, that keeping peace is more important than protecting your peace. So you say yes, you overextend, you stay silent when you want to speak, and maybe people do like you, but it's not you they're liking, it's the version you've created to keep them happy. Every time you please others at the expense of yourself, you teach your soul that her needs don't matter. And over time, that quiet voice inside, your intuition, your truth, fades into the background. You become a stranger to your own desires, your own boundaries, your own voice. And let me tell you, that's not kindness, that's abandonment, self-abandonment. There's nothing noble about ignoring your own needs. There's nothing admirable about disappearing so others can shine. Kindness is not about compliance, it's about connection. And true connection can only exist when it's honest, when it's rooted in mutual respect, not silent sacrifice. It takes courage to start choosing yourself, to say no without explaining, to walk away from roles you've outgrown, to disappoint others rather than betray yourself. But every time you do, you rebuild the bridge back to who you really are. And that version of you, the one who honors her needs, who respects her limits, who speaks her truth, is not selfish. She's free. Letting go of people-pleasing doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring for yourself, too. It means realizing that your voice, your feelings, your well-being matter just as much as anyone else's. You weren't put here to be everything to everyone. You were put here to be whole, to be real, to be you. And that version of you is worth showing up for every single time. How many times have you swallowed your words to keep the peace? How many moments have passed where you had something to say, something powerful, something honest, but you kept quiet because you didn't want to seem too much, too emotional, too loud? We've been conditioned to believe that a woman who speaks her truth is a problem to be managed, that her boldness makes her difficult, that her honesty is aggression. So we lower our voices, we dilute our opinions, we second-guess our instincts. Not because we lack wisdom, but because we've been told for so long that our voices are somehow too much. But the truth is, your voice is not too loud. It's just been silenced for too long. And the longer you hold it in, the heavier it becomes. Every unspoken truth starts to feel like a weight on your chest. And one day you realize you're not just losing your voice, you're losing yourself. Your voice is not a threat, it is a gift. It carries your truth, your experience, your power, and when you use it, not to harm but to heal, it becomes a force of transformation. Because here's the thing, when one woman finds the courage to speak up, she gives silent permission for others to do the same. Don't wait until you feel fearless. Speak even if your voice trembles. Speak even if your hands shake. Because courage isn't about being unafraid. It's about choosing truth in the presence of fear. And every time you use your voice with honesty and intention, you reclaim a part of yourself that was buried under years of being agreeable. This is not about being loud for the sake of noise. It's about being real, being clear, being seen. Because your silence will not save you, but your voice might save someone else who thinks they're alone in what they feel. When you speak your truth, you're not just setting yourself free, you're lighting the path for others too. So stop asking for permission to be heard. You don't need it. Your voice was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to rise, to resonate, to remind the world that you are here and you are no longer whispering. Reminding that we were born to soften, our souls to be palatable, to be pleasant, to not take up too much space, physically, emotionally, or intellectually. And somewhere along the way, we begin to believe that being good means being small, that we must dilute our truth to keep others comfortable, that strength makes us harsh and softness makes us valuable. But you don't owe the world a softer version of yourself just to make it easier for others to digest you. You are not a watered-down version of who you're meant to be. You are not here to be everyone's comfort zone. You are here to live fully, freely, and unapologetically. There is nothing wrong with being kind, empathetic, or nurturing. These are powerful traits. But they are not the only traits you're allowed to have. You're also allowed to be bold, to be direct, to say no without guilt, and yes without fear. You're allowed to walk away from what no longer serves you, even if others call you difficult for doing so. Too often women are celebrated for their sacrifices, but shamed for their strength. Praised for being selfless, but questioned when they choose themselves. We are not taught that we can be both soft and strong, that we can lead with compassion and courage, and yet that is exactly where our power lives, in the full spectrum of who we are. You do not have to make yourself smaller so someone else can feel bigger. You do not have to suppress your joy, your ambition, your opinions just to fit into a mold you never agreed to. The world doesn't need another muted woman. It needs one who knows her worth and refuses to shrink into silence. You are allowed to take up space, not just physically, but emotionally and intellectually. You are allowed to speak without apologizing first, to stand tall in rooms that weren't built for you and still claim your place. You are allowed to show up fully, flaws, fire, and all. Because when you stop softening yourself for others, you start strengthening the truth inside you. And that version of you, the one who is whole, unedited, and free, is the one the world has been waiting for. Letting go of the good girl act isn't easy. It feels like shedding skin you've worn your whole life. And there's grief in that. Grief for the comfort, the familiarity, the identity that brought you acceptance, even if it was at the cost of your truth. You'll miss being liked by everyone. You'll feel the sting of disapproval. You'll wonder if letting go means losing everything. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Letting go of who you were is the only way to meet who you really are. When you stop performing and start showing up as yourself, the world might not applaud, but your soul will breathe. You'll begin to notice how much lighter life feels when you're not carrying the weight of other people's expectation. You'll start to feel a sense of peace that doesn't come from being liked, but from being aligned. Yes, people might fall away, but the ones who stay, they'll be the ones who love you for who you are, not who you pretend to be. The real you doesn't have to beg for belonging. She just has to be brave enough to show up. And when she does, she'll realize she was never too much. She was simply surrounded by people who preferred less. This journey back to yourself is not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, sacred. It happens in the everyday moments. The no you finally say, the boundary you finally set, the truth you finally speak. And with every small act of honesty, you come home to yourself. The woman who rises after letting go of the act is not the same woman who wore it. She's softer where it matters, fiercer where it counts. She doesn't ask for permission to live fully. She just does. She understands now that her value was never in being perfect or pleasing or polite. It was in being real. So yes, letting go is hard, but losing yourself is harder. And the moment you stop hiding, you don't just find freedom, you find you. And that, my friend, is the most beautiful becoming of all. So what happens when you finally let go of the good girl act? You stop living a life designed to keep others comfortable and start living one that makes you come alive. You stop shrinking to fit into roles that were never meant for you and begin expanding into the truth of who you are. You stop performing and start becoming. This journey isn't about abandoning kindness, softness, or grace. It's about realizing those qualities mean nothing if they come at the cost of your voice, your worth, and your soul. It's about choosing courage over comfort, truth over approval, and authenticity over applause. Letting go doesn't make you less lovable. It makes you more you. And that version, the one who is flawed, fierce, free, and fully present, is the one the world truly needs. So if you're tired of the mask, take it off. If you're tired of pleasing, pause. And if you're ready to be seen, not as the good girl, but as the real you, then take that first step. Speak. Say no. Say yes. Set the boundary. Speak. Say no. Own your space. Choose yourself. Because you don't have to earn your worth. You were always enough, exactly as you are.